You mentioned yesterday that you want to do the autopsy as quickly as you can, right?
Within the constraints of the resources we have, yes.
Well, sure. Ideally, you'd want to do it right away if you could. Isn't that right?
There are a lot of variables to consider in that question.
You did the first. Well, first of all, why do you want to do it so quickly? Why is it important to do that early on?
Can you define quickly?
Sooner than later? Why would you do it the next day rather than 3 months later? Why would that be a good idea?
Even with refrigeration, the body does go through the decomposition process.
And all right. So now you did the first autopsy on the 10th, you say, correct?
Yes.
And you started that about 10 in the morning, you said?
About, yes.
And then the second one was on the 11th. And when did you start that one?
I believe about 10 a.m. as well.
When did you finish that second one?
I believe we probably finished in the afternoon.
2, 3? How many hours would it take?
I don't exactly recall the afternoon.
How about the first one? How long did that one take?
I believe we were done within about 2 hours.
Now, and then you completed your report on June 24th of 2024, correct?
Yes.
And that's because you're waiting for the toxicology report.
The toxicology report had been received, I believe, in March.
Now, when you first did the autopsy, you're doing the work and you're giving instructions to someone who's taking notes, correct?
There's a team of people that assist me.
Well, let's just talk about this particular one. You did the work and you were telling a tech basically what to write down. You were making comments and they were writing down your comments, correct?
During portions of the exam.
And someone else took photos. You didn't take the photos.
Yes.
Who took the photos?
I would have to refer to the photographs to address that. I don't exactly recall who took the photographs.
When did you first look at them?
The photographs?
Yes.
Probably within a day or two of the examinations.
And then you, within a day or two, the first or the second examination?
Both.
And then you looked at it again when you wrote your final report in June?
I suspect I looked at them a number of times between the exam and when I finalized my report.
You know you misspelled her name. You know that, correct?
Objection, relevance.
The spelling of her name is what was given to us through documents.
You referred to her as Marcel instead of Marcella. You know that, correct?
I am not aware of the pronunciation of her name.
But is Marcel the name that's actually on the final death certificate that you issued?
I am not in control of the demographic information that is on a death certificate.
Are you not responsible for your own report that you write?
I do write my own report.
Now, you say that when you finished the first time, you finished after a couple hours, so maybe we're about noon, 1 o'clock, something like that?
About?
And somebody came to get the body, right?
Yes.
When did they get it?
I believe the funeral home representative came about 2:45 or 2:50 in the afternoon.
Okay. Who was the funeral home representative?
I do not know.
What standards do they use for transporting bodies after autopsies? Do you?
I'm not aware of those.
Now, you say it's not uncommon to re-examine a body, right?
Yes.
But that's usually, ideally, when they're still there and they're in the cooler, you can take it out and look at it again, right?
Yes.
So sending it off with, some individual you don't know to go off for a few hours and then come back, that's probably not best practices, is it?
I would agree with that.
Doctor, I'm going to show you Exhibit 101. You saw this earlier, and I think you identified that, correct?
Yes.
Now this, I'll just show you for a minute. There's a lot of like bloodshot eye around there, correct?
I would call those congested blood vessels.
And that's on the white part of the eye.
That's the the sclera or the conjunctiva.
Okay. Some people say conjunctiva, is that right?
Yes.
Now you didn't notice any discoloration or bruising on the front of her neck.
Can you define the front of her neck?
The anterior side of her neck?
The neck is curved, so there was some bruising that I would consider anterior lateral.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 121. Ask you to take a look at that again.
Okay.
Doctor, this one you say shows some kind of bruising, maybe a little bit of abrasion on the back.
Yes.
It's kind of darkened, isn't it?
That is one way to characterize it.
And that would suggest that maybe it's been there for a while.
Can you define a little while?
It looks like the blood has coagulated, correct?
I can't speak to the coagulation status.
And it looks like if there's bruising, that means that the heart was still beating, and that it may have happened at least sometime before she passed away. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Doctor, I'm showing you what was marked as Exhibit 122. Just ask you to look at that again.
All right.
I think you mentioned on direct examination that some of these are artifacts, correct?
They may be artifact.
Okay. And don't they also line up with the things that you identified as injuries?
They do not.
Okay. Does this not fold up and meet this part right here?
It does not.
So you're saying that the two shadows at the bottom.
I would ask Your Honor that he allow the witness to see where he's pointing.
Okay, well, that's okay. So I'm referring to the two darkened areas at the bottom, which you referred to as possible artifacts.
Yes.
Which means it might be something that you did perhaps during the process. Is that right?
Yes, potentially.
Okay. And then we're looking at the upper portion where there's a couple areas that you've identified as injuries, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so the ones on the lower portion, that was actually kind of severed and pulled down from the upper portion, correct?
No.
And so they kind of meet up, don't they? Common sense would tell us that.
I'm not sure what you mean by meet up.
In your testimony yesterday on exhibit number 123, you said you couldn't say what caused that little red dot.
That specific one, no.
So sometimes a red dot is just a red dot, is that right?
Sometimes it is indeterminate between artifact and injury.
I'm showing you exhibits 144 and 145.
Okay?
And the purpose of those was to show that there's some bruising on her elbow, correct?
Yes.
And again, they're darkened, correct?
That is one way to characterize them.
Well, how would you characterize
I would characterize them as contusions.
it? Okay. Darkened contusions?
It's a relative term.
Okay. And that again would suggest that it happened sometime before she passed away. No way to age them, could be hours, could be days, correct?
Yes.
And we don't know how these occurred, do we?
I do not have a mechanism by which they occurred.
She could have bumped her elbow.
Yes.
She could have fallen against something, the counter or something like that.
Yes.
I'll show you exhibit 306. As we take a look at that. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And that features the Lucas bruise, doesn't it?
It features an imprint and an abrasion created by the Lucas device.
Okay. And that's fairly dark, if I could use such a word. It's fairly dark in the center, isn't it?
Again,
Sorry,
dark.
Counsel, what number is the exhibit?
This is exhibit number 306.
Has it been admitted?
Oh, does that fairly and accurately depict the injury that you saw when you did the autopsy?
I would not characterize it as an injury.
Does it fairly and accurately represent that portion of Marcy's body the day you did the autopsy?
Yes.
Okay, move to admit exhibit 306.
Can I see it?
You have a copy.
It's a black and white. No objection.
306 is admitted.
Okay, so that, if I dare say, that darkened portion would be a bruising, wouldn't it?
It's not a bruise.
What would you call it?
There is an imprint where there is relative change in the skin color. There is an abrasion like crescent where the skin has been rubbed off. There's no corresponding contusion associated with that.
You don't see any darkened area around it?
That is discoloration. When we open up that skin, there's no definitive leakage of blood that would qualify it as a contusion.
You're aware that the Lucas has a suction cup on it?
It may have.
Well, does it or doesn't?
I'm not familiar with every Lucas device.
You're not familiar with the fact that the Lucas has on the end of the plunger, it has a suction cup that attaches to the chest.
It may have.
That would help bring the chest back, wouldn't it?
I am not familiar with the detailed mechanisms of a Lucas device.
Doctor, I'm showing you what was entered yesterday as exhibit 154. Just ask you to take a look at that, please.
Okay.
Where would the vertebral arteries be?
The vertebral arteries in this cross-section are not accurately depicted because this particular cross-section is using a thoracic vertebra, not a cervical vertebra, which is where the vertebral artery travels. This particular cross-section is below the level in the neck where the vertebral arteries enter the vertebra.
Now, the vertebral arteries, that's just another blood supply for the brain, isn't it?
It is.
You get blood supply from the carotid arteries, you get blood supply from the vertebral arteries that are kind of right by the vertebrae, right?
Yes,
Okay, and they're protected, aren't they?
they are.
So when you this naked rear chokehold you were talking about, you're not squeezing those, are you?
No.
I'll show you what's been marked as Exhibit 307. Let's ask you to take a look at that for a second. Before you say anything, this is being admitted for demonstrative purposes. Counsel, I gave you a copy.
I don't have a copy. You just have to open mine. Okay. Would this assist you in demonstrating to the jury where the vertebral arteries are?
Potentially.
Move to admit Exhibit 307 for demonstrative purposes.
I could just ask a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate illustration?
No.
I would object.
It's just for demonstrative purposes.
Well, the purpose of an illustrative exhibit is to allow the witness to explain whatever testimony or questions you're going to ask her. If she doesn't believe it, allow her to do that, then not necessary.
Does this diagram show you roughly where the vertebral artery will be located relative to the spine?
In very general anatomic locations, it is a general anatomic location of the vertebral artery.
Would it assist you in explaining generally where the vertebral artery is to the jury?
Maybe.
Potentially?
Potentially.
Move to admit.
Admitted for illustrative purposes.
So, Doctor, that red dot shows it being kind of protected by the vertebra, correct?
In that image, it is near the vertebra, which is not exactly how it is in the body.
Does it change relative to the vertebra as it travels up or travels down?
The relationship does not change from what is depicted there.
Does it at least explain why it might be protected from a squeeze like that?
Potentially.
Okay, move to publish record.
Well, if you're publishing it to allow it to explain testimony you're asking her to give,
Yes.
okay, well then have her step down and show what it is you want her to show.
Okay, well, can you step down, please, and show the jury where it's located, how it might be protected?
So in this image, this is a cross-section of the neck, very similar to the one that we looked at yesterday. The front of the neck is here to the front of it, and then the back of the neck is here. The vertebral artery is next to the vertebra on both sides. There's two that travel up the back. And so in this diagram, it shows the relationship of the vertebral artery being next to the vertebra, which is sort of this tannish structure here. So each vertebral artery sits right next to bone on both sides. And so as it travels up, when it is next to a vertebra, it's protected. There are gaps between the vertebra where it's unprotected, but when it is next to bone, it's protected.
Thank you. So I'm going to show you Exhibit 155 that was made yesterday. You recognize that, Ron?
Yes, I do.
And would that artery be protected during this move?
It is.
Okay. So in other words, even though you've cut off blood supply, let's say that you occlude the carotid artery, correct? You still have a blood supply going to the brain, don't you?
There is blood flowing to the brain.
And that, I'm going to ask you about Exhibit 156. Same question, would it be protected in that move?
Yes.
And so again, you'd have continued blood flowing through the vertebral artery to the brain, even though the carotid artery is occluded, correct?
Yes.
And that has the effect of building pressure, doesn't it?
It can.
Well, if blood is pumping in, and let's say the jugular is cut off, it's not going to come out, is it, for the most part?
Blood will continue to flow in as long as the heart is beating.
It's going to continue to build pressure.
Yes.
And you said that if this rear naked chokehold you're talking about, it's applied just right, not too much movement, avoid the hyoid bone, you're saying that it could cause unconsciousness in just maybe 10 seconds, 20 seconds?
Yes.
But now, in order to cause death, we're looking at more like 5 to 10 minutes, aren't we?
Yes.
That's 5 to 10 minutes of no blood coming out, blood going in, pressure, pressure, pressure. Is that what you're suggesting? Is that what would happen to cause death? Is that the situation?
No.
Isn't it true that if you cut off the blood supply for 10 minutes, you're going to have massive petechiae?
No.
You're going to have a pretty clear line across the neck where there's no petechiae below it, and above it you're going to have a whole bunch of scattered petechiae.
No, that's not what I'm testifying to.
What are you saying would happen then? If blood is going in and causing petechiae, why wouldn't you get massive petechiae?
So I'm not testifying that I agree that blood will continue to flow in through the vertebral arteries, and I agree that there is some increase in pressure. The vertebral arteries through the basilar artery supply so little blood to the brain that the person dies from lack of oxygen to their brain before there is sufficient blood buildup in the brain from the vertebral arteries.
You've seen people have hanged themselves, correct?
Yes,
Don't they have petechiae in their face?
sometimes.
So now you're saying that this demonstration you gave yesterday with these diagrams, this is Exhibit 155, you're saying that wouldn't necessarily cause petechiae?
It can.
So what you referred to as petechiae, that you said petechiae-like, could be petechiae, you're saying that doesn't necessarily support the theory that she was strangled to death by a rear naked chokehold?
Can you repeat the question?
You testified yesterday that the injuries you saw were consistent with this rear naked chokehold. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Now you're saying that, well, maybe petechiae doesn't support it.
It does.
But you said it was petechiae-like, correct? You're not positive because you never cut into them. You didn't verify that they're petechiae. Correct?
My opinion is they are petechiae.
And Petechiae forms within seconds to minutes, correct?
They can.
Now, the contusion that we saw, this is in number 137, you said that that would not cause death, correct? That's not necessarily something that would cause death.
Yes.
Now, you said that you were unable to think of any external forces or external causes that would have caused death, so you deemed it a strangulation and homicide, correct?
In general, I agree with that statement.
What if the person was nauseous, felt ill, had a massive headache, fell down and hit their head on the toilet? Would that point explain the contusion?
Objection, relevance.
That is one scenario to explain the contusion on her head.
Thank you. They got dizzy and fell and hit their head on the bathtub, same thing. Possible explanation for the contusion, correct?
It is a possible scenario.
Basically, having a fall and hitting your head on any hard object that could cause that, that's a possible explanation.
Yes.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but not quite this same thing. You examined 8 different tissues under a microscope.
Yes.
That must have taken a while. How long did that take?
I don't have a specific recollection of the time it took.
Well, you did all the cutting, the examination, all the dissection within 2 hours, and you examined 8 different kinds of tissue. How long do you think you spent on the tissue, just examining it under a microscope?
The examination of the tissues under a microscope is a separate process that takes place several weeks after the autopsy.
How long did it take you to do it when you did it?
I don't have a specific recollection.
How long would it take to examine one tissue sample?
It's highly variable, and it depends on the tissue sample and the potential pathologies that are in that tissue.
10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
It's highly variable.
Well, give me an example. How long could it take?
As long as it takes. I can't give you a definitive answer. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it might be 20 minutes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 309. This is just for your own information. On Bait Stamp 496. There's a note next to brain. What does that say?
Sorry,
Objection.
counsel, are you asking the witness to read from an exhibit in the presence of the jury?
Strike the question. I'll ask a different question. There's an entry that has an arrow from the brain that says NP.
Would object, Your Honor.
Sustained. If you wish to have an exhibit read into the record, you need to have it identified and admitted.
You planned originally to send the brain for testing with the neuropathologist, didn't you?
Yes.
And that would have just been a request and sending off a sample, isn't that right?
Not a sample.
Would you set the whole brain?
Yes.
So that would have required just boxing up the brain and sending it off to the lab with a request, correct?
It's a little more complicated than that.
Well, sure, but essentially, isn't that what you do?
Simplifying the process, yes.
To cut into a suspected Petechiae-like spot, how long would that have taken to put that under a microscope and look at that?
The removal of the tissue takes a certain amount of time. That tissue then goes to a laboratory, and that process takes a week to several weeks. The tissue comes back, and I look at it under a microscope. Which part of that process?
Well, how much of your time would it have taken?
It's variable.
20 minutes, 30 minutes?
Can you specify which part of that?
You take the sample, you make the cutting. How long does that take?
Depends on the part of the body that I'm cutting into.
10 minutes? 20 minutes?
It's highly variable.
So you make the cutting, which is highly variable, then you want to package up to send to the lab. How long does that take?
Anywhere from several minutes to 10 minutes.
And you are not able to say how any of the injuries occurred, isn't that correct?
Yes.
So there's no dislocation or fracture of the hyoid bone.
Yes.
And that's a little bone that sits right about here, kind of goes up and down when we swallow.
It's significantly higher in the neck.
Okay. Forgive me for not knowing my anatomy better. You didn't see a fractured thyroid cartilage.
Yes.
You didn't.
I did not.
You didn't see a swollen tongue.
No.
That could be an example or an indication of asphyxiation, couldn't it?
I am not familiar with swelling of the tongue as an indicator of asphyxia.
Is it something you look at?
Yes.
What does it indicate?
Generally, swelling of the tongue indicates an anaphylactic reaction.
You didn't see any what you'd call defensive wounds.
I do not use the term defensive wounds in my reporting.
All the work you've done supports the theory that she was strangled with a rear naked chokehold. Is that right?
The injuries I documented are consistent with that.
All right, that's all I have.
Redirect.
Are the injuries that you documented only consistent with a rear naked chokehold?
No.
Are they also consistent with simply putting your fingers into somebody's neck?
Yes.
Defense counsel asked why you hadn't included mention of a massage in your report. What was the cause of death indicated in your report?
I listed the cause of death as asphyxia due to blunt neck trauma.
And why call it asphyxia and not strangulation?
I used those terms specifically and not strangulation because strangulation has different meanings in different contexts, and to avoid any miscommunication or misinterpretation, I chose words that would be accurate and not exclude or limit interpretation.
Does asphyxia mean to either cut off the air or blood flow? Or what do you mean by asphyxia, I guess is the question.
Asphyxia means lack of oxygen. So in this case, lack of oxygen to the brain is what kills people. So lack of oxygen to the brain from blunt neck trauma.
And what is a manner of death?
The manner of death, or
What is a manner of death generally?
the manner of death is a medical legal category that we assign to deaths. Every state has at least 5 manners of death: natural, homicide, suicide, accident, and undetermined. So we have 5 categories to pick from for manner of death. Some states have 1 or 2 more. And the definitions of those and how to apply those guide what we assign to different deaths. So of those 5 categories, in this situation, homicide was the most appropriate manner of death.
And why is homicide the most appropriate manner of death in this case?
The injuries that she sustained most likely came about from the actions of another person. Those injuries resulted in her death, so that qualifies it for homicide.
And was that the cause and manner of death that you indicated in your report?
Yes.
Is that still your opinion on the cause and manner of death?
Yes.
Do you believe that a deep tissue massage is a likely cause of the contusion to the back of Marcy's head?
Objection, no foundation.
Overruled.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Can you
I'm
repeat
sorry,
that?
I sustained the objection to the request that what she believes. If you're asking her expert opinion, you need to rephrase the question.
In your training and experience, is a deep tissue massage a likely cause of the contusion that you observed?
No.
Why not?
The location of the contusion is, part of it is over a bony prominence, which is not a focus of a tissue massage. That's the first reason. The second is that if there is slow continual pressure of the tissue sufficient to cause bleeding in the muscles, I would expect there to be injury to the skin surface. And the third is that if deep tissue massages resulted in contusions of this nature, I would expect far more people to have contusions.
And how about any of the other injuries that you observed during the course of the autopsy? Do you think any of those could be contributed or attributed to a deep tissue massage in your training and experience?
No.
Objection, vague question, calls for narrative response.
So rule
It's also
allow the
leading
answer to
question.
stand. I'll overrule the objection and allow the answer to stand. Next question.
Did you observe a video of Ted West demonstrating the massage he allegedly gave his mother to law enforcement?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. I think I need to be heard on this.
Apparently I have to resolve an issue outside the presence. Close your notepad, listen there on your chair, and discuss the case.
Did you observe a video of Ted West demonstrating the massage he allegedly gave his mother to law enforcement?
Yes,
Is that part of your case file?
yes,
Is that something that you reviewed in determining potentially what the causes of death were? Or is that something that you reviewed in forming your opinions?
I did review it. I cannot tell you if I reviewed it before or after I issued the cause of death. In reviewing that video, it did not present me with information that I felt warranted changing the cause and manner of death.
Okay. Is that something that you would do if you received information that led you to a different conclusion?
Yes.
And in your training and experience, could the massage that you observed have caused the contusion to the back of the head that you observed?
No.
Why not?
Because the location of it is over bone, a bony prominence, because the size of the contusion is consistent with tremendous force, and I would expect there to be skin changes. If there was sufficient force to cause bruising, there should be damage to the skin. And then the third reason is that if deep tissue massages caused such contusions, I would expect to see a lot more people in general with contusions.
Is the back of the head a place that Ted West indicated that he massaged in the video?
No.
And in your training and experience, could the massage that he demonstrated having done to his mother cause the hemorrhage to her carotid sheaths?
No.
Why not?
The region of the neck where the carotid sheaths are is uncomfortable to push on with pressure. There are a number of large nerves in that area that with pressure would elicit either extreme discomfort or pain. And then putting pressure on the neck in that region runs the risk of limiting blood flow to the brain.
Is the front of the neck where the carotid sheaths are an area that he demonstrated that he applied pressure?
No.
And how about the hemorrhage to the esophagus? Is there anything that he demonstrated having done that could have caused the hemorrhage to the esophagus?
No.
Did you see any injuries to the places where Ted indicated in the video he was applying pressure to his mother?
No.
No further questions on that topic, Your Honor.
Any question for Lengthy Offer, please?
Your Honor, I just have argument, frankly.
Okay, what's the argument?
So, Your Honor, the doctor did not rely upon this video in forming her opinion. She's not even sure if she had it before or after she released her report. The officers came to my office on August 14th. This was 2 months after she released her report, so she didn't have it when she wrote her report. So she didn't rely on it. That's number one. Second thing is, until this moment, I was not aware that it was shared with her or she'd be testifying about it. And it's not in evidence. So it's not something that she could be given as part of the evidence. So it might be rebuttal, but it is definitely not something for direct examination. So it's a discovery violation to feed her this well after I've talked to her, and now she's giving an opinion on what some other witness did in the case. So it's inappropriate, and it's not proper inquiry. It's not evidence in the court, Judge.
When did you speak to her? When did you speak to her?
March of 2024.
And when was this
No.
information about what Mr. West available?
So August of 2024.
So you're suggesting it's a discovery violation that you weren't able to ask her about something that happened 6 months later?
No, Judge, hold on a second here. So I interviewed her on March 28th, 2025. I'm sorry. And but this is not something she relied on. It's not part of her, her file. It's nothing that was a subject matter for her. They've since given her that video for her to give an opinion. It's not in evidence. It's actually going to be a comment on another witness, and that's inappropriate as well.
Response?
Well, the only thing I would indicate, Your Honor, is that I didn't intend to get into the massage with this particular witness. In fact, I spoke with Mr. Walker during a break from the witness's testimony and said, is it okay with you if I go into the massage at this point so she doesn't have to take the stand again? He indicated no, that would be objectionable because I haven't raised it yet. And so I said, okay, I won't. Sat down, and then he brought up the massage with her during cross. So all I'm doing is rehabilitating the witness at this point. And additionally, the massage has been brought in. She did rely on it, and she did not change her opinion. It's not a discovery violation.
But didn't you ask her about the massage?
I asked her about certain forces. I didn't say massage. I said if you gave a sustained, a sustained duration, hard force with your knuckles or elbow, could that cause that? At the time she said it could.
Okay, are you suggesting, or are you planning on suggesting that this massage caused death, or that it caused her injury?
It could have caused the tissue damage, but Judge, it's not been brought up yet. It's not. There's been no evidence that she had a massage. This might be rebuttal, but it's definitely not something for this testimony.
I sustain the objection at this point. Appears to be beyond the scope of what was brought up in the cross-examination. I will indicate if it's appropriate to ask an expert about other people's testimony and other things. So if you bring in a massage and are claiming that the massage either is a cause of death or a cause of injury, then you come back up in rebuttal and explain why it isn't.
Understood.
Okay? Are you ready for the jury? Bring in the jury.
Dr. Burt, I'm showing you what has been marked for identification purposes as 146 through 150 and 260. Can you take a look at those?
Okay.
And what do those depict?
These are photographs of her clothing taken after the clothing was removed from her body.
And do they appear to be true and accurate depictions of the clothing?
Yes.
Move to admit 146 through 150.
I'm sorry, Counsel, could I see that one more time, please? Thank you. No objection.
146 through 150 are admitted.
Right. First, move to publish, Your Honor.
Grant.
this is 146. What are we looking at here?
This is a photograph of her bra that was taken after it was removed from her body.
And is that how it appeared as it was removed?
Yes,
Is this an underwire bra, or what sort of bra is this?
it is an underwire bra.
And I know there's a little bit of blood there on the cup. Do you know what that was attributed to?
Not specifically, no.
Do you have any concern about the blood?
I do not.
And why is that?
The amount of blood is very small. The distribution of it is consistent with passive transfer during disrobing of the body. And in the we do a set of photographs before we remove the clothing, and there was no blood in that location.
And also showing one. 149. Is this the sweatshirt that Marcy was wearing?
Yes,
Okay. And 150. All right. And it looks like there's a little bit of blood here in the, kind of the armpit and the arm of the sweatshirt.
yes,
And do you have any concerns about that blood?
I do not.
And why is that?
It appears to be passive transfer during the process of disrobing her.
Okay. So not necessarily from the time of her death.
No.
All right. Now, defense counsel asked about the glucose quite a bit. Why didn't you have NMS labs test for glucose?
The accuracy of post-mortem blood glucose is minimal. The blood glucose in any person rapidly changes after they die.
How rapid is that?
It starts falling within 30 minutes to an hour, and is usually undetectable within about 12 to 24 hours after death.
And defense counsel asked whether glucose levels could rise during vomiting. Remember that?
Yes,
Is that possible?
it is possible.
If Marcy had vomited around 11 p.m., what would you expect to see with regards to her glucose around 4:30 a.m.?
If she had, if her body had initiated a stress response to the vomiting, I would expect that since assuming she did not continue vomiting, but that she returned to baseline, that her blood glucose would also return to a normal level.
And then again, seizure activity drops glucose even further?
In the immediate time period of the seizure, it does tend to drop blood glucose.
And it could rise after a seizure, correct?
Yes, yes,
But it has to be a naturally beating heart.
yes.
What do you look at to determine whether someone has a seizure disorder?
The information that I use to establish that diagnosis is the person's medical history and social history. A seizure disorder, chronic seizures, is based on historical repetitive seizures throughout a person's life.
Did you see any indication of a seizure disorder in Marcy's medical records?
No,
Did you see any indication of a seizure disorder in the history provided by her husband?
no,
Any other indications of a seizure disorder that you observed?
no.
Did you have your evaluation peer reviewed?
Yes.
What does that mean?
The peer review process that we use at Clark County involves having another board-certified forensic pathologist review the autopsy report and associated documents for accuracy and clarity.
If they're reviewing for accuracy and clarity, do they also review to determine whether or not they concur with your cause and manner of death?
Yes.
And did you have this particular report reviewed?
Yes.
Who did that review?
Dr. Jennifer Nara.
Is she another forensic pathologist?
She is.
Can you explain again why there might be limited petechiae in the vascular strangulation?
With abrupt collapse of both the jugular vein and the carotid artery, there is very limited blood flow into the brain, into the face, so that there is not an appreciable rise in intracapillary pressure. The rise in the pressure, if it's sufficient, can cause blood vessels to rupture, which is then can look like petechiae, which are petechiae. So if you have sudden and sustained collapse of both the jugular and the carotid artery, there isn't the abrupt rise in capillary pressure.
And is petechiae conclusive for strangulation?
No,
Is it corroborative of strangulation?
it can be.
And why didn't you cut each suspected petechiae spot out and examine it under a microscope?
The location of the petechiae would have resulted in devastating cosmetic damage. And so in weighing the usefulness of examination against my experience in training and interpretation, I did not feel that that was warranted, and that my diagnosis was sufficient.
Do families sometimes want a viewing of the deceased after an autopsy, even if there's an eventual cremation?
Yes.
Now, defense counsel asked you about the injury to the back of the head being a hematoma. What is a hematoma?
Hematoma is one subcategory of contusions.
Okay. So a hematoma is a type of contusion?
Yes.
Okay. And are the photographs part of your record?
Yes.
And you have multiple photographs of this particular contusion, correct?
Yes.
How often would you say that you examine people who have undergone resuscitation efforts?
I estimate between 20 and 30% of all of the autopsies that I do, those people have had some form of resuscitation.
Have you ever seen this constellation of injuries in someone else due to resuscitation efforts?
No.
And why didn't you send the brain for additional testing?
My decision tree involved, first of all, evaluating whether or not she had a chronic seizure disorder. In the absence of that diagnosis, the lesions of the brain that could result in an acute first onset seizure are things that I can diagnose during the autopsy. And so the utility of a neuropathologic examination was not necessary at that point.
But you still have tissue available,
Yes,
and somebody else could test that if they wanted to.
yes.
And defense counsel spoke to you about the life scan records a little bit. Is there anything after reviewing Marcy's medical records, including the life scan, that caused you concern that natural disease led to her death?
No.
I have no further questions at this time.
Recall. Thank you. Doctor, you said you saw no evidence of a seizure disorder in her past, correct?
Yes,
But you didn't have any records showing any regular doctor visits or any testing for that, did you?
I did not.
Your records went back to 2016. There's nothing in there about that.
There was not.
Now, you said that you didn't want to cut any of the Petechiae because of cosmetic reasons? That is what you said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so cosmetics is more important than the accuracy of your report?
In weighing the information that I would have gained versus my confidence in my interpretation did not warrant pursuing that.
Do you know what the Lucas mark looks like? Because it's that kind of round area on the chest, right?
Yes.
You didn't know what an EC hold was, issue that I asked you about, correct?
I'm not familiar with that term.
Objection beyond the scope.
How would you know if it's CPR related when you don't even know what the CPR steps are?
The mechanisms, the physical steps of CPR are fairly standard.
Well, yesterday when I asked you to tell me about any one of them, you just drew a complete blank. Isn't that?
I cannot explain in detail all of the variations that might be employed.
So you said that you didn't send out the brain to the neuropathologist because it's something you feel you could have diagnosed yourself. You could have examined yourself.
The diseases and processes that could result in a first-time seizure are things that I can diagnose.
But you didn't.
I did not identify a lesion or pathology to explain a first-time seizure.
So, Doctor, you were the contusion on the back of the head. I'm just going to go back for a second. That was the contusion is basically at the base of the skull, isn't it?
Yes.
Kind of where the bony part of the head gets into the soft tissue of the upper part of the neck, correct?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
No, Your Honor. Subject to recall.
Yes.
You're free to go at this time, but you're subject to recall, so unless you're being asked to observe as an expert, you can't remain in the courtroom. You need to keep the parties advised of how to reach you and not discuss testimony with any other potential witness. Have all exhibits been returned to the court?
I believe so.
Do you have any exhibits in your possession?
I do not.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our morning recess. It'll be about 15 minutes.